Wow, I got all these cameras. It's awesome.
This is awesome. Yeah. Love it.
What's your name?
What's your name?
Huh?
What's your name?
Sergeant Guillermo.
You said you haven't been filming here?
Not like this. Not like this.
Oh, not
all
like
these
this.
cameras? No way.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah, you're a matter of great public interest.
Yes, we are, definitely.
For sure. How are you, Sergeant?
Trying to help
I'm
him
good.
out.
How are you? Absolutely wonderful. Fantastic. Another great day. Another great day. What's the plan? What are you guys doing?
Continued outreach.
Continued outreach. Continued outreach. And what does that mean?
Continuing to talk with those that are here, that are homeless, seeing if there's any services we can attempt to connect them to, what other needs they have, come up with a strategy to see how we can get them on their feet.
But then at night, you're coming out and arresting them?
I am not arresting anybody
Well,
else.
not you personally, but the sheriff. I mean, that's what we're hearing. Is that in the morning you're coming out and handling food and offering services.
No, we have not made any arrests.
You haven't made any zero arrests. Zero. Well, for other crimes, right? I mean, you do arrest for crimes.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about here, our outreach efforts here, we have not made any arrests.
In the
Sheriff's
morning.
Department has not made any arrests.
Okay. Who's making arrests? Police?
LAPD will make arrests.
Oh, they're the ones. You guys are just doing outreach here.
Correct.
All right. Yeah. I noticed the fire department's even involved. They're tasked with giving real-time information.
I'm out of here.
So I guess just with my cousin.
I don't have a good view here.
The more the merrier, you know what I mean? I don't know. The fire department puts out fires to rescue people. And in a few cities, I can fall from our country where the fire department set a fire on the avenue and look at it. I don't have any. Remember that? It was in the 70s. Yeah, they set a fire and burned down like 40 houses in Baltimore. Yeah, it was the MAD. That's what it's called.
It is. History is a good subject. You like it? I did. All history. I don't know. An expert. I like him. What's his name? George Schwartz. This guy
Suarez.
is the first name. Suarez.
What was your badge number
My badge number?
or ID number?
I have not been asked for that in a long time.
Hey,
No, badge number is 1246.
1, 2, man, you're awesome. You don't make it out on the streets much, huh?
Well, I deal with all the mentally ill people in crisis. That's what
People
we
in
do.
prison.
Is it customary for you to do outreach with the weapon?
I'm a police officer,
You're a police officer.
right? Deputy sheriff. So yes, it's part of my uniform.
Do you think that's a good role for you to play?
I have had a lot of success, absolutely.
With the weapon?
Weapon has nothing to do with it.
There's a lot of different organizations that do outreach with
Absolutely, they do.
and they accomplish a lot of goals.
I don't know what they accomplish. I don't have those statistics. But I do know that we collaborate with the Department of Health and I work with non-armed civilians. We both go out and we do outreach.
So what's the ultimate plan? What's the goal?
The goal is to outreach these individuals, and I believe the ultimate plan is a cleanup. Yeah, there'll be a posting, and then there will be a day of cleanup.
Like the trash, or you cleaning up
Yeah, that's a
them?
broad definition.
It's the LA County protocol, LA County homeless protocol. And so that's what they do is we do outreach for a while, provide whatever resources offer, and partner with those that can provide those resources. Because the Sheriff's Department is limited in what we can do. But we bring services that we can, see what people need, get them connected, and then eventually there is a cleanup, enforcement of public spaces.
So in other words, when there is new ordinances, you guys will have to enforce them.
I can't specifically say that. We will be enforcing ordinances necessarily here,
Tell everybody.
but there will be a cleanup based on the protocol. That's my understanding.
I'm trying to familiarize myself a little bit with the code, actually, on the camping too. And my understanding is that the structures, like putting up a tent or attaching something to the ground, that's camping. But like just laying down in a towel or something, falling asleep while you're suntanning is not a crime. It's not camping, right? But the building of the tent is a structure, and that's what camping is defined as. But
I don't know as far as the definitions. Like I said, I mainly deal with those that are in crisis, and so my focus is more the mentally ill that may be out here who are either a danger to themselves, danger to others, or extremely disabled. So that's my reason for partnering with the homeless outreach system.
Right.
When it comes to the actual cleanup and protocol, I'd have to defer to them for all those definitions.
I'm just saying, like, people can go out on the beach when it's open and lay out in suntan and fall asleep if they want, right? Yeah, that's not a crime, as long as it's during open hours. And this beach is 24 hours?
I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
I'm gonna ask you one question
I
that I
don't
ask
know.
Yeah,
every
yeah.
law enforcement officer that I encounter. Can you state the First Amendment?
Can I state the First Amendment?
How long have you been a law enforcement?
23 years.
20 years. Can you state the First Amendment? It's very simple.
You have the right to be secure in your person's place of duty.
That is the Fourth Amendment.
The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses,
First Amendment.
is the Fourth Amendment.
Can I refresh you on it right quick? Okay. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, right? Freedom to assemble, freedom of the press, freedom to assemble and redress your government peacefully, right? That's very important when you're out policing, especially in a situation like this, because sometimes people get rowdy and sometimes things happen. If they break the law and they injure somebody and there's a victim, then definitely that's what you guys are hired and paid for. You know, we understand that you guys have a job to do, but you got to keep in mind that you're out working for the people. There's some boundaries that can't be crossed, and those people have human rights. And the Constitution and the First Amendment was written to limit the scope of authority that any agent or law enforcement agent or any public official may have over the people. So if they're yelling, "I'm standing right here, motherfucker," like the guy did in Arizona, got arrested for it, that was a total violation of the civil rights. This country is upside down because we have a lot, we're in debt, we're paying lawsuits out, and you gotta understand that most lawsuits are paid out because of simple civil rights violations. And that's because officers like you who've been on the force for 23 years can't even state it, which is the first law of the land. So what law are you out enforcing? It's an embarrassment, I'm sorry to say, that you didn't know it. But my goal is to change that so that you guys know it, because without knowing it, let me ask you this. How is this a sustainable system if you guys don't know the first law of the land and the people are not being taught their rights? That's why
that we can film.
Yeah.
You guys know that we have to,
But now you know it in context. And now you
I never doubted the context.
Right.
And like many things. Right. And that's the ultimate. I wouldn't be able to tell you when I had breakfast last week. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that recollection.
No, but
when
this
you
is
started mentioning it, absolutely, I remember.
okay. Yeah, this is America.
And I do believe in the Constitution. I swore an oath to uphold it. I swore an oath to protect all those things.
But you can't uphold it if you can't remember it.
Sure, I can.
And no disrespect, man. No disrespect.
Likewise, it's not. You asked me for a specific definition. Obviously, it's one of those.
So I could put on.
Absolutely. There's some nervousness, right? And so
There's nothing to be nervous about, though, right? Like if we shouldn't be nervous that you have a gun, you should absolutely not be nervous that you have a can.
and I'm not. You know what I mean?
You might make mistakes that people will understand if you're genuine.
I've always believed that.
Yeah.
I've always believed that. And you know what? I've always lived my career based on that too. You know what? People make decisions sometimes not but I still think everyone's respect. And that's what it comes to. And I agree with you. You have very valid points. If this country upside down, it is an absolute turmoil. Wrong is right. Right is wrong.
A lot of it
all
is
kinds
because
of
the
things.
people don't know their rights, and you guys really can't recite the First Amendment, which is
I think
the
it goes
most
beyond
important.
that. I think there's a greater issue. But now
No, listen, man, this is America, bro, and freedom should be at the topic on every dinner table in every
100%, I
household,
agree
bro. And that should be talked about in every household, so that we can. It's not. We can regurgitate it. We can talk about it. We can know it, just like we know our birthdays, our social security numbers, and everything else. That you understand. And I'm gonna tell you something else, bro. Your parents that birthed you, they gave you those freedoms. It's not the government. You know what I'm saying? It's your parents that gave you the freedoms. The Constitution was written to limit the scope of authority. Did you know that they're not even teaching the kids cursive writing anymore? You want to know why? Because the Bill of Rights was written in cursive writing. They want the people to forget it. What role are you going to continue to play in this country? That's all I'm asking. No disrespect. You understand what I'm saying?
That's such a broad question. Can you be more specific?
Yeah. Are you going to continue to police without knowing these things? You know, in reality, you should talk to all your friends and buddies and
You're
look,
saying I don't know them, I do know them. You asked me for specific, I like to recite specifically what it was, okay? And, you know, trying to recall a memory. No, I didn't know. And I even told you
And the
wrong
Second
one.
Amendment was written to protect
But I
the
know
First
the
Amendment.
generalizations of it, okay? And when it comes down to specifics, like everything, even, you know, it's been a long, I've been around doing this for a long time. There's a lot that we're responsible for. There's a lot that people hold us accountable for. And so I take that with great responsibility, and I do that every day. I don't wake up with any evil intent in my heart to go out and harm anybody or do anything. My goal in life is to, I sleep well at night because I know that I've tried to help everybody I can. So when you ask, what is it that I'm trying to do? I am trying to uphold all the laws of the land, the Constitution, everybody's rights, and figure out right is ultimately be the peacemaker amongst everybody, because there's a lot of difference in opinions and different opinions even here amongst this outfit. Right?
You know, I do this a lot, right? What I do when I go out and I ask questions and I try to have a cordial conversation with police officers. I on my channel I highlight the good and the bad. You know, I let police officers show themselves for what they are. I'm the man behind the camera. You know what I mean? I'm the guy nobody cares to see. You guys are the ones that are representing something huge. And we're beginning to find a lot of answers to the questions that we have. You know, we're beginning to understand policies. We're beginning to understand things. Like I can blow your mind with things that I know.
I'm sure you do.
You know what I mean? Like I can talk about qualified immunity. I can talk about absolute immunity. Which officials have what should be, you know, where we should continue to go. Is this a sustainable system? Is this a great route that we're going down? You know what I mean? You know, I understand we the people, you know, make mistakes, and that's what you guys are hired for. But when, like I said, man, when we make mistakes, that's what you guys are there for, to hem us up and to let the court system deal with us. When you guys make mistakes, we see it often where many police officers, and I'm not saying specifically you, but turn the other cheek. We have internal investigations and other policy that needs to be looked at. Police unions that allow bad officers to continue to go from one place to another. Like, we're out there talking about certain things like racism. Let's say we wave a magic wand and get rid of racism tomorrow. The next day we're going to need a whole new sign that says, let's get rid of the narcissists. Because we have a lot of issues going on, and these policies protect bad officers. You know what I mean? And until you understand it, you know, until you get off this propaganda train, you know, back to blue line flag, you know, I can blow your mind with another quick sentence. Officer safety isn't heroism, it's cowardice. Public safety is heroism. That's what we pay you for. We shouldn't praise you for what you get paid for. We need heroes out there, not cowards that are afraid of a camera or you know, a spray can or whatever, a phone, or whatever reason that people are getting killed for. You know it's an issue. You know it's an issue, and it's just this is the importance of what needs to be put on the table at every dinner table. Every police officer, every citizen, everybody who has social media and get off this MSM, you know, training, mainstream media training. What they do is propaganda. It's embarrassing and it's disgusting to see blue line flags up in our police stations, who's paying for that? The people? The propaganda? To continue to back a system that is ultimately failing. It's not, and don't get me wrong. Police officers do a lot of good, man. I see it. I see a lot of the good that police officers do. But that's what you guys get paid for. You know what I mean? That's the money. Should we defund the police? I don't believe so. I don't believe so. We should ultimately check on their policies and see how they're going to continue to work or going to continue to not work. Even when police are held accountable, the money comes from the constituents. It doesn't come from you guys. You guys should be paying for your own insurance. We can go on and on and on and on and on. So that way the good officers.
There's a lot that you said so much, and there's so many different rabbit holes that we could go down, you know, on so many things. And you're right. Could I? I can't fix it all. You know what I mean? And do we get generalized? Absolutely, we get generalized. Just like a lot of other people and groups and everything else.
You know, I read a comment the other day.
But all
on
I
my
can
channel.
do is what I can do every day myself to make sure that I do walk that straight line, make sure I don't violate people's rights, make sure that I do enforce the laws that I've sworn to do. When those that don't like it, sometimes I have to do that, right? Now my job is a little bit different. I don't go into enforcement. On the contrary, now I go into crisis stabilization. You know, and so that's what my focus and bent has been. Have I done other things in my career? I have. You know, as far as enforcement, work control, been a detective, do all those other things. So I bring a lot of knowledge. You know what I mean? And so with that, I live my life in that way to make sure that everybody that I serve, no matter where I'm at, whether it be here in Venice or anywhere else in LA County, you know, over 4,000 square miles that we have to provide services to. There's a lot of asks, you know, and very limited resources. What's that? Is that a blue line ring? Nope, the black ring.
You know,
Do you have a blue line? Do I have a blue line flag? Okay. Yeah.
it starts, you do your part as well, not just go out and doing the job, your day-to-day job, because you're going to become complacent, and then you're going to be afraid to do your job, so you're going to do whatever they tell you.
Complacency is something we deal with and we talk about every day because it is the cancer. I think I look at it as cancerous.
What is the cure to that? The cure for that is for you to understand the policies, understand where the people are coming from. Understand, look at
And education, continued education.
And I tell you what, man, I delete all violent comments that are violent towards police officers because I don't believe them, right?
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, man, I don't believe in this us versus them mentality. And I don't want to say that I agree with this comment that I read recently, but it opened my eyes to a lot of something that's going on. And it says, police officers have this us versus them mentality. You know, you can see it clearly on the videos. If they really want to go down that route, ultimately in the end, they're gonna lose. And
I would disagree with that.
You disagree with that? Let me ask you this:
some aspects, because you're making judgment based off a two-dimensional image, and there's
in which way?
If you're looking at a video and you're seeing what you see as a two-dimensional image, there's a lot that you're missing. Just like we have an interaction. Everybody smells, hears, sees what's going on around us. All you have is this image of what I'm saying, and there's so many things, right? As a human being, we deal with multiple senses, and I think that's one of the challenges. Are there things that have been questionable? Absolutely. Do I cringe at some of the things that I've seen? I do. Do I shake my head? Yeah. But you know what? In the times that I've had encounters that may not have gone the way I know I wanted them to go, because people made decisions on their end and chose to have to put me in a situation where I either have to defend myself, you know, or use force, right, to ultimately arrest them because of the violation that they committed. You're constantly dealing with other people's choices and decisions. I'm still trying to make those, as a people, I say it's hard. I've been in those situations. I've made decisions, but it's hard to say exactly based off the video what truly transpired. Was there more? Was there not? Most things on video always look horrible, especially when they whittle down, flip it, give you context and everything.
You would use video to put somebody in jail, wouldn't you? Use it as evidence on the stand?
And that's the thing, it's part of the evidence, right? There's always more to it.
Always. But use that video. I mean, you can use it.
Well, that,
So
when it
even
comes,
when-
but here's the thing is when it comes, so you gotta understand, when it comes to prosecution, that's gonna be the police and the judicial system.
Sure, but you
We're gonna gather the information, whether it be witness statements, information we have, find out if a crime's occurred based on the elements of the crime. Yes, we can make it arrest. And then you present everything to the district attorney, who ultimately says, yes, I have to prosecute.
And if you watch,
And they're the ones who put on that prosecution.
Yeah, but you wouldn't get on the stand and be like, well, I don't know. I mean, I think he did this crime. I have video of him doing this
No,
crime. But
we're
it's a
held to a
two-dimensional
factual
image
basis.
that we're looking at here, and you know, it's only part of it. You can't smell anything.
Well, you know, but if you're asking me to review something on
That's what you
video,
just said about a video. Like,
well, I
review.
did, based on the conversation we were having.
Yeah.
He said, when you look at videos and you see everything that's happening, that's my direct statement to that. If I'm just viewing a video and I wasn't there to see everything and heard from everybody else, I can't give you a definitive response on whether or not those actions were right or not. There's a lot more that comes into it. And that's why I believe the prosecution of both officers, criminals, anybody else, and I don't mean to make it
No, you can't do it because of policy. Policy restricts you from doing that.
there are
Right,
people who
making
will look
a
at the
judgment.
totality of the case to ultimately see if prosecution is justified.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that takes a lot more.
Yeah.
I have friends and family who go, hey, look at this video. What do you think? And I would say, I can't.
You can't because you're
I can't.
restricted by policy.
Number one, like, because of all these cameras, everything I'm saying right now, I know can be used against me, can make me look like horrible, whatever. You know,
I don't think you're-
I hope not. You know, there are those that have one desire, and that's to make us look like, you know, evil beings and continue to turn public against us.
Who? Do you know who this is?
No, I don't.
I had my phone, but
This is San Joaquin
I left
Valley
it at my house.
Transparency, Sam the man. He's not out here to make you look bad.
Nice to meet you, Sam.
I guess Sam the man. San Joaquin Valley Transparency.
So, San Joaquin.
Valley Transparency.
I have not heard of it. I spend more time out here than I do on my social media. So, which I really don't have. So it's one of those things. I focus on what I can do. But that was the difference that I was trying to do.
that's good, and you're right. And honestly, you should see some of these channels nowadays because they kind of all the information they provide it kind of builds like a case, so that way the people they know all the facts as much as possible, at least going into the video, and the way that they explain it and all the laws, they pull up all the penal codes and stuff, so that way the people can get a really, really good idea and make their own decision on whether or not they think that police officer is good. There's a lot of good channels you have to go and look at, and they kind of provide it kind of like of the people are watching it and are the jury. You make the decision on whether or not you think this police officer acted in his right will, you know? In reality, the people have a right to film because of that reason. And how you said, like, it is two-dimensional when you don't.
First Amendment right.
Yeah, when you don't provide all the evidence that is possible, it does look like a two-dimensional thing. But yeah, people are working on it now.
There's a procedure for that, and it's the judicial procedure. And so
Yeah.
and sometimes people want things now. In the world we live in, instance, everything is instant. We can microwave everything. We can have it readily. I mean, imagine if, you know.
Sometimes that judicial system isn't fair enough, and I can give you one quick example. Okay, we get in trouble, we have to pay for expensive lawyers. You get in trouble, we have to pay for your expensive lawyers.
No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you, 'cause
Yeah.
I've been down that road, and
Taxpayers?
nobody's ever paid for my lawyers.
That was correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on the context.
Yeah, the
right?
money that comes from the check that we pay.
So maybe the answer is yes and no. Like I said, in my personal experiences where I've had to defend myself, I've had to pay for my own.
Against the public or against the department?
Both.
Sam the man just got it.
Reality, you got to think about it like sometimes cops, due to qualified immunity or due to whatever their policy entails, they get away with treating the public, whether it's lawful or not, they get away with treating the public pretty bad, you know? And not every person in the public is a criminal. Not even McDonald's.
How do you quantify that? What do you mean they get
So,
to treat everybody?
so let me say this. I've worked fast food before, right? Even fast food members, if you say some of the things to the public customers that a police officer would to a person that he's stopping, or maybe a passerby that says something, any other person on their job that is like a waitress or any person that's serving the public would easily be fired. And these some officers, I'm not saying all of them, I'm saying some, they do get away with the way they speak.
Well,
And as a person, yes, yes, and
Oftentimes, are they fired?
and how you say no,
Right?
yes,
They're
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I've actually seen a couple of my friends when I was in fast food get fired for things like that. Yes, but what I'm trying to get, yeah, what I'm trying to get to is how you made the point of society has lost its way. We need people to be held accountable on all fronts, and that's what the police are there for. They're there to hold the public accountable, but in order to hold the public accountable, I do believe, like, philosophy wise, like, as a person, you got to hold yourself accountable first. Before you can start judging, or before you can even give advice to someone else, you got to hold yourself accountable first. Wouldn't you agree? Because you seem like you hold yourself accountable. You seem like a pretty, yeah.
But do I make mistakes? I do all the time.
A lot of people do. Yes, I do too.
And here's the thing: is so you live your life the best you can, right? And again, it's based off of ethics and morals. There has to be that. If you don't know what's right from wrong, then you've lost your way.
Yeah.
And I wonder, as our society, do they know that? Because look what has been allowed.
Yeah.
I don't say just here. I'm talking in general. All the. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we could get into specifics. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And in reality, it's the same way for public. You know, in public, there's things like gangs. You know, like, are you familiar with the 75th precinct in Brooklyn? Well, the 7-5, it was a precinct full of officers, and all of them either ended up in the 80s. They all ended up dead or in jail due to corruption.
Wow.
And it's crazy. Like, in reality,
That's a failure.
yeah, it's a failure. It's a failure of the system. In reality, we need.
Failure of leadership.
Yeah, and we need, like I said, in order, I don't think we should abolish police. I don't think we should defund them. In reality, we just need people who are right for the job. And right now, we have a lot of people who get by. You get me? And we don't need getting by. We need good
I
people.
think there's enough examples in the United States where you see the defunding happening and you see what's happening.
Yes, exactly.
People in general do not want to be held accountable. They don't want rules. Our nature is to do whatever we selfishly want to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's our nature. So we fight against it, right?
Yeah.
You have to, and that's why there are laws and enforcement and consequences.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing. It starts at home, and it starts in our schools. Or continues in our schools. But if we as parents don't hold our kids accountable and to understand the differences between right and wrong,
Yeah.
they're going to go out there and they're going to continue being selfish little individuals that they were born to be, that they were born as,
Yep.
without understanding how they fit into this world and what the rules are.
Yeah. You're right. It starts at home.
It does.
What was your name, officer?
George Suarez.
George?
Okay.
All right, Nick. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.